Hello and welcome to the Trip On podcast, in which we combine architecture, entertainment and urban life. My name is Lee.
My name is Alex, and we're an architect and themed entertainment professional who travel a lot, but we're also interested in urban development and attractions. It's going to be totally different this time.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than what you are used from us, because we wanted to do actually a completely different format. We want to go in the direction of a comparison, or more of a favorites episode, where we do a face-off between the theme parks in the UAE.
Before we dive into this episode, we first would like to clarify what theme parks we're talking about. So we are exactly talking about the theme parks in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. We also found out from listeners a little bit of the confusion, because sometimes maybe it wasn't that clear which park is located where and what does it really have to offer. For that reason, we decided to talk about 2 parks from Dubai and 3 parks from Abu Dhabi. To clarify, the theme parks in Dubai are IMG Worlds of Adventure and Motion Gate.
And the theme parks in Abu Dhabi are Ferrari World, Warner Brothers World and SeaWorld Abu Dhabi.
And if you want to see our favorites in images, check our Instagram.
Or go to triponpodcast.com. I would also like to clarify Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Even the names sound very similar. So can you explain a little bit, Alex, the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi?
Dubai and Abu Dhabi are 2 out of 7 Emirates in United Arab Emirates, and Abu Dhabi is actually the capital, where Dubai is a little bit more well-known city or more flashy city that is more spoken about.
The big difference is that Dubai is much more known internationally as the city of luxury and the city of rich people and the city of partying and skyscrapers and yachts and that kind of stuff. And on the other hand, Abu Dhabi is much more known as the capital city of the Emirates, much more cultural. It's also a little bit more strict when it comes to the Islam. Also a little bit more traditional in that regard.
Sometimes I would say a bit more family-oriented in a way.
Yeah. Dubai is a bit more party city according to its...
or influencers.
Influencer city, exactly. Yeah. And already when we have those 2 cities, they are not even that far apart, because both Dubai and Abu Dhabi are actually situated on the same side of the Emirates, on the Persian Gulf, both also with beach fronts and sea access. Both are a harbor city, and they are kind of like 1.5 hours apart driving. The 2 theme parks that we're talking about in Dubai, I think it's very important to make clear that both of these theme parks are from a completely different owner, so different investor, but they do have a certain history together, because they were both at some point initiated for Dubai Land, but they are separate nowadays. First of all, IMG Worlds of Adventure. This is an indoor theme park which is built by the IMG Group. IMG Worlds of Adventure is a bit more situated inland in the desert from the city of Dubai. And it was supposed to be a first theme park in a series of theme parks, but the other theme parks never happened. And this is a theme park that has a couple of very famous IPs, amongst which also Marvel and Cartoon Network. And then all the way outside of the city, in the desert, there is a resort which consists of Legoland Water Park, the current Real Madrid World, which used to be the Bollywood Park, which closed down earlier, but they repurposed it. And then the biggest one is Motion Gate Dubai.
Motion Gate is actually situated in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Quite outside, you need to take a taxi to get there. It is beautifully kept, it has lots of greenery, it's almost surreal because you drive through the desert and then suddenly you see all this greenery.
And Motion Gate is part of the Dubai Parks and Resorts Group, kind of an independent theme park that does the Hollywood Studios theme, just as the famous parks from the US, but in the desert. So those are the 2 parks that we're going to discuss in Dubai. IMG Worlds of Adventure and Motion Gate Dubai. And then for the other 3 parks, we have to go to the other city, Abu Dhabi.
And this is an interesting thing, because all of the parks are located on one island, which is called Yas Island. And I would say it's also kind of a resort island, because everything works together as a whole project, which is very nice and quite unique in this region. The parks that are there are Warner Bros. World, SeaWorld, and Ferrari World. There is also a water park, but we're not going to discuss this one.
No. So all these parks are owned and operated by Miral, and Miral is actually also a big investor and a big leisure and entertainment group in Abu Dhabi. And you can kind of consider Yas Island to be a big resort with several hotels. There's also Etihad Arena, there's also a Formula One track and a really big mall. So an island with a lot of entertainment, but I think nowadays slowly this island is becoming more and more known for its incredible theme parks. So we just positioned everything. So we have 2 theme parks in Dubai, we have 3 theme parks in Abu Dhabi. We have visited more theme parks. We have also visited, for example, Global Village, which is also a very interesting other episode, but we're not going to include it because we wanted to draw a line where we actually want to discuss real theme parks, so gated theme parks with high-end rides and roller coasters. And we have been thinking if we should include SeaWorld in that, but to be honest, SeaWorld is one of the most highly themed experiences that we've ever seen. Plus there are several roller coasters, which made us decide it has to be included in this list, because it's definitely also on the level of theming, I think, a very, very important player. So we set up a system, basically a data sheet, where we are going to divide points. We divided it into categories, which allows us to hand out points to at least 3 of the parks on the list. And we didn't do it in any scientific way. We did it in a way that feels natural and it feels right for these theme parks. And for every category, we are giving a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3 spot. So the number 1 is our favorite. The number 2 is a runner-up, and number 3 is the one that we should include because we do think that they deserve points. Number 1 gets 3 points, number 2, 2, and number 3 gets 1 point. We consider it favorites. We don't really have any other important metrics, but we do try to actually give you a motivation as to why we think something is our favorite. The first category is the favorite urban situation. And just to explain, it means the situation of the theme park in relation to its urban environment. And my top 3 is number 1, Ferrari World, number 2, Warner Bros. World, and number 3, SeaWorld. And for you?
Number 1, Warner Bros. Number 2, SeaWorld. Number 3, Ferrari World.
For me, I chose Ferrari World because I think the Yas Island is such an incredible project, very close to the Abu Dhabi airport. And I also think that Ferrari World is a very, very iconic theme park in its shape, in its building, in its look. It is a theme park that I think almost everyone kind of knows, especially if you watch Formula One. It is so iconic that it's almost unmissable when you are familiar with Yas or when you are visiting Formula One. And I think most of the people that I talk to, and we talk about Abu Dhabi, they know about Ferrari World. And you?
I agree with you about the Yas Island, that it should definitely be a park located there. For me, it is Warner Bros. Because I just like the position of the park itself. It's emphasized with glass facade. It has a hotel at the front and a very nice plaza in between. And the entrance to it is a bit more special to me than to Ferrari World.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I think purely from the entrance itself and from the park itself, I think Warner Bros. Is definitely doing it better. But it was for me very difficult to choose. I think just Ferrari World is so iconic. Like it.
Yeah, I think looking at the larger scale, I get your point.
Yeah, exactly. So Warner Bros. Gets 3 points. Ferrari World gets 3 points. We go to the next one, the favorite park gate, which is our favorite pre-entrance experience. And for this one, we choose everything that leads up to the gate, basically. For me, it was number 1, Motion Gate Dubai, number 2, SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, and number 3, Warner Bros. World. And yours?
For me, number 1, SeaWorld, number 2, Warner Bros., and number 3, Motion Gate.
So let's start with your motivation.
I chose SeaWorld because it has multiple layers and not really obvious entrance. Firstly, when you arrive at the ground floor, you need to take escalator up, and then where you're there, you're in actual pre-entrance area, and then again, when you enter, there is another hub and central area. So I find it very interesting that there are many entrances.
Like certain steps you have to go through to get to the actual park.
Yes, but the tension is building up and you discover more and more. So it was very, very interesting. And for you?
Yeah, I chose for Motion Gate Dubai because I was there recently again. And to be honest, even though, Riverland is a completely different story, it's not functioning as it should do. But still, if you arrive to Motion Gate Dubai, especially from the big pedestrian bridge when you come from the Lapita Resort, and you see this big artificial film roll with the big camera left and right and the lighting and the music, I just have an enormous weak spot for the Hollywood studio parks. And it is kind of refreshing to see an independent film studio park that is doing something similar as what the big players are doing in the world. And it's done very well, I have to say, very tasteful. It is all the way in the desert though, which makes it a bit weird. But it does really warm you up to get into Hollywood. I like this feeling that you have at Motion Gate. But I totally understand your point, because honestly, SeaWorld's entrance is very nice, almost like a story where you go through. Then the next item that we have is our favorite hub area. So basically our favorite main junction in the park.
Yes, and with this one, I will not surprise you because I chose SeaWorld again as a first position. Second position is again Warner Bros. And then third position, Motion Gate.
The first place I have Warner Bros. World, second place I have Motion Gate Dubai, and third place I have SeaWorld Abu Dhabi.
Why did you choose Warner Bros. At the first place?
Yeah, so I think that I have never seen a better application of the outdoor feeling inside a building. This is such a great way of introducing let's say an outdoor square, and it's also called Warner Bros. Plaza. It really feels like an outdoor square, and it literally feels as if you're surrounded by facades with over that the sky. And I think it also has to do with the fact that I work in theme park design, and I know how much of a struggle it is, and I just think they nailed it.
Especially it is impressive when they have the opening show and when they show all the movies, projection.
Yeah, when they use the whole surrounding for a show. Yeah, that's incredibly impressive. Yeah.
For me, SeaWorld made a little bit bigger impression because it has an extremely impressive interactive globe in the center of its main square, surrounded by LED screens with marine life images. And every time you go back to the zone, you're just fully impressed by how it looks. It is so futuristic in a way, and I really enjoyed it.
SeaWorld always needs you to come back to the hub when you want to go to another zone. To be honest, every time the impact is very, very strong of this hub. I do agree with you that SeaWorld has a very modern, almost sci-fi main hub with all the images. Mm-hmm. And I have to agree that this is a very difficult choice between SeaWorld and Warner Bros. They're both excellent.
Yeah, and especially the LED projections are very high quality.
Yeah, both amazing hubs, I have to say. Mm-hmm. So both genuine winners. Next point is our favorite park layout. So the favorite overall infrastructural interplay of elements. For this, I actually chose SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, second place Warner Bros., third place Motion Gate Dubai. And for you?
And for me, it's actually exactly the same. So first place I have SeaWorld, Warner Bros. And Motion Gate.
All right, so tell me, why did you choose SeaWorld for this one?
So I chose SeaWorld because it has hub and spoke system where all the ways lead to Central Square with previously mentioned globe, and the layout allows you to lose yourself in the world of aquariums and be able to see all the aquariums and the marine life from different and quite unusual perspectives and angles.
Yeah, I think if you would look at all of these parks side by side and you would kind of look at them but more from their blueprint, then SeaWorld is by far the most three-dimensional in its layout, because in SeaWorld there's so much height difference between entering the park and going down towards the underwater areas and going up for certain play areas. Yeah, SeaWorld is very, very impressive in terms of its infrastructure. And I really totally agree with you that SeaWorld also has this hub and spoke system working really well as a layout for them, because this central area is always kind of grounding you back into this one ocean where you go into your next adventure.
All right, right, let's move to the next category, which is favorite building volume.
So what do we mean by that? What is our favorite exterior building volume? So basically the shell around the theme park. And for this one, we have an interesting one because you chose
Ferrari World, and I see that you chose Ferrari
Ferrari
World as
World.
well. So we agree with that one, and I think it's mainly because of the roof structure, the curved shape.
The iconic aspect of it.
Yeah, the curved shape logo of Ferrari, which is actually the largest logo of Ferrari in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's definitely visible from far away. You can see it on Google Maps, and it's really iconic.
Yeah, and I also think that Ferrari World as a roof structure, it doesn't need any introduction. It's so clear when you see the building. It's like, this is Ferrari World, and there's even a couple of coasters zooming around, so it's very obvious that it's almost screaming at you, like, you have to go here. You know, go here for the coasters, go for the speed. Second position, we chose both Warner Brothers World. I think also the box for Warner Brothers World is really elegantly done. It looks decent. It's not overly themed, but I think the reason why we chose it is because the front facade is so iconic.
The front facade has glass curtain wall.
Yeah, and also this curtain wall is set in the contour shape of the top of the Warner Brothers shield. And then they put this artificial water tower next to it, which immediately anchors it as a Hollywood theme park. So I think also a very nice entrance. The third position is a bit different because you chose Motion Gate Dubai. So can you explain why?
I chose Motion Gate because of DreamWorks, because the whole facade is blue with clouds.
Yeah, it has this typical DreamWorks opening frame with the DreamWorks logo in the middle and then the big white clouds on left and the right. It leaves no question mark.
Yeah, and you chose SeaWorld. Could you explain a little bit?
Because I think SeaWorld also did it very well, where you have the box and you have this walkway that leads up to it with all the coverage for shading for the sun. And then on the left of that, you have this Manta coaster that is zooming around. And I think also that worked very efficiently because it kind of already immediately says to you, it's not just a marine park. There's more to do here.
Our next point is favorite indoor roofed zone.
Yeah, our favorite indoor zone. And that's actually an interesting one because there's exceptionally a lot to do under a roof in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, of course, because it's so hot in the summer. They are doing naturally a lot of stuff indoor because of the air conditioning. And also with theme parks, you see this. So from this point on, we can choose different zones. We can also choose different zones in the same park. And this means that the points all go to that particular park. So there's a lot of points to be won here by the parks. So my top 3 is number 1, Metropolis, which is the Superman zone in Warner Brothers World. Number 2 is How to Train Your Dragon in the DreamWorks Hall in Motion Gate. And number 3 is Gotham City, the Batman zone in Warner Brothers World. And what is your top 3?
My number 1 is Shrek in Motion Gate. Number 2 is How to Train Your Dragon in Motion Gate as well. And number 3, I chose Gotham City in Warner Bros. World.
Okay, the reason I chose Warner Brothers, even though I totally agree with you that the Motion Gate zones are all amazing, I just have an incredible weak spot for the Art Deco style that existed in the old New York. And I also think that the indoor zone Metropolis is really, really well done with this outdoor-indoor suggestion. And I think that's also kind of what hit me. Also because, you know, for me, the Superman and the Batman IP are very strong. I think I really grew up with those. And you chose as your number 1 actually the Shrek area in Motion Gate. I'm also really curious why you chose this one.
I chose it also, as you've mentioned before, because the IP is very strong for me and I grew up with this one. But also because it's heavily themed, it's beautifully decorated, it has nice layers, you can see Shrek's house and it looks so real.
Yeah, it immediately reminds you of the movie. Very well
you feel
done.
like you're in the movie scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a difficult time choosing between the Warner Brothers zones and the How to Train Your Dragon because to me, How to Train Your Dragon area is also really well done in Motion Gate. It has so much depth. When you walk into that zone, there is a lot of depth under you with a play area, with the water elements. In front of you, there is the entrance to the Dragon Gliders ride, and then above you is actually the Dragon Gliders track that goes around. So very layered, very kinetic, and for me also one of the indoor zones in the theme parks that has the most depth. So it's hard to choose.
Yeah, this was the difficult one because lots of zones also in Warner Bros. Were beautifully themed.
And then the next one, our favorite launch experience. So for this one, we have to explain you what are the options that we can choose from. I think the Middle East and launch coasters, they really go hand in hand. They love launch coasters over here. They have a lot of them. So let's go through the list. Number 1, the Velociraptor, which is a Mach launch coaster in IMG Worlds of Adventure. Madagascar Mad Pursuit in Motion Gate Dubai. Capital Bullet Train is a Mach Multipass launch in Motion Gate Dubai. Then we have Formula Rossa, which is an Intamin launch in Ferrari World, very famous coaster. Fiorano GT Challenge, which is a Mauro Rides launch in Ferrari World. Then we have Turbo Track, which is an Intamin launch in Ferrari World. Mission Ferrari, which is a special effects coaster in Ferrari World. And then we have Manta, which is an Intamin launch in SeaWorld.
Quite a list of
Quite
thrill
some
rides.
choices. Let's go to the top 3. What was your top 3?
So for me, definitely Mission Ferrari in Ferrari World. Number 2 was Manta from SeaWorld. And number 3, Madagascar Mad Pursuit from Motion Gate.
All right.
What are your choices?
Yeah, I had to choose Madagascar Mad Pursuit from Motion Gate, which is the indoor launch coaster from Motion Gate Dubai. And second, I chose Fiorano GT, which is in Ferrari World. And third, I chose Mission Ferrari, which is also, of course, in Ferrari World. So Ferrari World gets quite some points here because they have a lot of good launch coasters. And let's talk about why we chose this. So for you, I'm really interested. Why did you in particular choose the one from Ferrari World?
So in general, Ferrari World has fastest roller coaster in the world, which is Formula Rossa. And this definitely deserves some attention as well. But for me, even a bigger surprise was Mission Ferrari. And this is because I think we had no expectations when we went on the coaster, but it had so many surprising elements that you sometimes just didn't know if you're going up or down, right or left, and it had beautiful scenes. In a way, it was also a dark ride at the same time.
Yeah.
So the whole experience was just very, very full of different things.
Yeah, I totally understand your decision. Mission Ferrari also has a very iconic launch, which actually shoots you out of the indoor section for a couple of turns, which is also visible from the park. But I chose Madagascar Mad Pursuit because this launch was such a surprise. I don't know if I was maybe expecting it to be a bit more of a junior coaster or something, or a bit more of a family coaster. But this launch is incredibly powerful, and it launches you into a tunnel with lighting effects. And instead of launching you and then pushing you up or something, it first kind of pushes you into an S-turn, which I think I have never experienced before because it's not really common to launch and then do a turn. And I just think I didn't expect this power. And to be honest, this was also the launch where I just had a big smile on my face every time I was riding it. I cannot remember being so surprised by it. I do have to say, exactly like you mentioned, of course, we have to mention Formula Rossa over here, which is kind of like the launch coaster in the world. It's the fastest coaster in the world. It's a true record breaker. It's very famous. I also know that a lot of people go to Ferrari World specifically for this coaster. And I also know that people don't go when the coaster is not operating, for example. That's how powerful this coaster is. But we have to also admit that the launch is amazing, but that's kind of it for this coaster. So that's maybe the reason why we both didn't choose it. Good news, by the way, Formula Rossa has been closed for a really long time. It is open again. Yeah.
All right, and now let's move to another point, which is our favorite kiddie coaster experience.
What belongs to this category, kiddie coasters? So we decided to go with the coasters that allow for a minimum of 100 centimeter attendance. And there are actually 4 coasters to choose from. We have the Smurfs Village coaster, which is a Gerstlauer Junior in Motion Gate. Then we have Dragon Gliders, which is a Mach inverted powered coaster in Motion Gate Dubai. We have Formula Rossa Junior, not to be confused with Formula Rossa. This is actually a kiddie coaster from Zamperla in Ferrari World. And there is the Eel Racer, which is a Zamperla Junior coaster from SeaWorld.
So which one did you choose? What is your number 1?
So my number 1 is Dragon Gliders from Motion Gate Dubai. What was your number 1?
My number one is also Dragon Gliders from Motion Gate Dubai.
If you consider all the coasters that have a minimum of 100 centimeters, I think it's not even a competition. Dragon Gliders is by far the most complete ride. It has speed changes, it has very effective, simple but effective animatronics, it has amazing music, it has projections, it has dark ride scenes, it has effects in it. And every time when this coaster is basically pushing you into the zone and you fly over Berk, so the little village from the movies, I got goosebumps with the soundtrack. The soundtrack is incredibly well done. For the kids, I think this is by far the most interesting experience.
I totally agree with you. And our second choice was actually Eel Racer in SeaWorld, Abu Dhabi. And this is the ride by Zamperla. It's a junior coaster in the kids' play area.
Yeah, the kids' play area is called Micro Ocean.
Micro Ocean, and it's beautifully themed. It's so nicely lit inside. It has all the beautiful decoration.
And also what they did really well is that the coaster was kind of like
going around the whole zone.
The play area.
Yeah, so you can see everything from the kind of top.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun ride because we could see the zone better. Otherwise, you cannot really enter all the climbing structures. And on the coaster, you can see what's in the side.
Yeah. Third place, we actually have a different one. So I chose Formula Rossa Junior. Very smooth, very decent Zamperla Junior coaster. Nothing special, to be honest. And you chose?
I chose the Smurfs Village coaster in Motion Gate because I think the whole zone deserves attention, and it's very cute for the youngers.
And actually, the Smurfs Village coaster is remarkably in a green area.
It's outside.
Yeah, even though it's Dubai, they still managed to get quite some vegetation in there. So yeah, that's nice. That's definitely some points. The next point is our favorite family coaster experience. So for this one, we chose everything that has to be under 130 centimeter attendance. So for this, we have a couple of options. We have Doc Ock's Revenge, a max spinning coaster from IMG Worlds of Adventure. We have the Green Hornet, which is a Gestlauer bobsled coaster from Motion Gate Dubai. We have Now You See Me, a Mara spinning coaster from Motion Gate Dubai. The Tom and Jerry Swiss Cheese Spin, which is a themed indoor twister coaster in Warner Brothers World. And then we have Fast and Furious, which is an intimate suspended family coaster in Warner Brothers World. And we have both Fast and Furious on number one. Yeah.
We chose it because it's a fun suspended coaster with nicely themed queue line.
I saw that almost this entire coaster is decorated. All the columns are covered by red rock structures. Really, really cute queue line where you can see the kind of the jokes and the gags that you are used to from the Wile E. Coyote cartoons. And actually, to be honest, the layout was even fun. There's a really nice big helix in the end where actually it gains some speed in the end.
You go above the whole zone, so you also see the zone from above.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a lot of near misses. And there's even a little dark section where there's some funny things to see. And it really gave me this Wile E. Coyote vibe. So it was the perfect coaster, I think, for families in this setting.
Yeah, definitely.
And then for second, I chose Tom and Jerry's Swiss Cheese Spin, which is a spinning coaster, indoor, also very nice coaster with a lot of effects and sound effects. And the third one, I chose Doc Ock's Revenge, which is kind of the Spider-Man coaster in IMG Worlds of Adventure. So there we go. IMG also got some points there. And you chose, for the second one, you chose Now You See Me, which is
Motion Gate.
Motion Gate is a spinning coaster. And third, you chose Doc Ock's Revenge, also from IMG. So IMG really gained some points there.
All right, then let's move to the next point, which is favorite thrill coaster experience.
There we go again, long list, because here in the Middle East they love thrill rides. So for this we chose everything that is 130 centimeter and up for attendance. And there we go. We have the Predator, which is a Gestlauer Eurofighter coaster in IMG Worlds of Adventure. Velociraptor, which is a Mach launch coaster, IMG Worlds of Adventure. Madagascar Mad Pursuit in Motion Gate Dubai. John Wick Open Contract, which is an SNS 4D spin in Motion Gate Dubai. Capital Bullet Train Mach Multipass Launch in Motion Gate Dubai. Mission Ferrari, special effects coaster from Ferrari World. Formula Rossa, Intamin hydraulic launch coaster from Ferrari World. Flying Aces, which is an Intamin wing coaster from Ferrari World. Fiorano GT, which is a Maurer LSM launch coaster from Ferrari World. Turbo Trek, which is an Intamin LSM launch coaster from Ferrari World. And then Manta, which is an Intamin launch coaster from SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. So that's a whole list. And let's immediately cut to the chase because we both chose at number 1.
Flying Aces in Ferrari World.
We both agreed immediately Flying Aces is the best thrill experience.
It's actually world's highest non-inverted loop at speed up to 120 kilometers per hour. I think we've done it 3 times and it's surprisingly smooth and exciting with unexpected moves. The queue line was also quite impressive actually.
This is by far the best themed ride in the whole of Ferrari World.
Yeah.
It looked really nice. The queue line, the entrance, the station looked really nice. Besides the fact that it's a very good wing coaster, it also has a really impressive lift hill where you are brought onto the lifter with your train and it goes really fast. It's almost like a launch in a way, and it just pushes you over the top hill, and from there on it's just excitement all around. So I think we both agree that yes, it's a thrill ride, but it's a comfortable thrill ride. And it felt like we could do it a couple of times. I don't think we could do it more than 3 times in a row though. So second I chose Manta, and third I chose Mission Ferrari. And for you?
For me the second one was Mission Ferrari and the third one Formula Rossa.
Yeah.
Favorite dark ride experience?
Yeah, and this is a very interesting one because they also have a lot of dark rides in the UAE, and that's something to be excited about because, of course, dark rides is such an important factor to theme parks. We have to give you one little asterisk, which is the amazing ride of Gumball, which is a dark ride in IMG Worlds of Adventure, was closed for maintenance when we were there, so we were unable to ride it. But there's still plenty of other dark rides left on the table. So we have Avengers Battle of Ultron, which is a oceaneering dark ride in IMG Worlds of Adventure. Forbidden Territory, which is an oceaneering dark ride in IMG Worlds of Adventure. The Shrek Merry Fairy Tale Journey, which is a Motion Gate Dubai dark ride. Dragon Gliders, which is the Mach Inverted Powered Coaster, which has also dark ride scenes in Motion Gate Dubai. Smurfs Studio Tour, a little dark ride in Motion Gate Dubai. Ghostbusters Battle for New York, dark ride in Motion Gate Dubai. Hotel Transylvania, also in Motion Gate Dubai. Made in Maranello, which is the dark ride in Ferrari World. Mission Ferrari, which is a dark ride in Ferrari World. Dark coaster, actually, special effects coaster in Ferrari World. The Flintstones Bedrock River Adventure, which is a dark ride in Warner Brothers World. And the Mayhem, which is dark ride in Warner Brothers World. And Batman Night Flight, which is a dark ride in Warner Brothers World. Justice League War World Attacks, dark ride in Warner Brothers World. And Scooby-Doo and the Museum of Mysteries, dark ride in Warner Brothers World. And I even left a couple of dark rides out from Ferrari World. But the reason why we don't include them, because honestly, they cannot even deserve their spot amongst this list. So we have to choose from the ones that we just discussed.
All right, so my number 1 is Shrek from Motion Gate. What is your number 1?
Mine is Batman Night Flight, which is also your number 2.
Yes, and what is your number 2? I see it's Shrek. So we exchanged.
Yes.
And then number 3 is Flintstones Bedrock River Adventure for me. And for you?
For me, it's the Dragon Gliders, the How to Train Your Dragon dark ride from Motion Gate Dubai.
All right, why did you choose Batman?
Yeah, so I think Batman is truly a world-class dark ride. To just explain a bit, it's a dark ride with KUKA arms, so with robotic KUKA arms. And that's something we know from the Forbidden Journey dark ride in Universal Studios. And frankly, to have a dark ride with that scale and with that technology, just sitting here in Warner Brothers World here in Abu Dhabi, that's really impressive. I honestly was a bit blown away by the scale of this ride and the quality of it. There's one really iconic moment in this dark ride that I will never forget. It's when you actually are going through the Batcave, and on a rotating platform, the Batmobile comes up. That's something that, as a moment that as a kid you've seen in television and movies, and it's really, really special to see that for real.
I
and
agree.
you chose Shrek.
Yes, I chose Shrek just because, as I mentioned before, it's one of my favorite IPs, but it's also beautifully themed. I love the story, and I think the style is just so cool.
Yeah.
It is so cartoony, but it's not overdrawn in a way.
But it's the perfect style for Shrek because they kind of make fun of the story and they have a lot of humor in it.
To me, they just nailed it.
Yeah, to me also Shrek is really a world-class dark ride. I think that would fit in the Universal Studios park in the US.
Yeah, it's super
that
high
good.
class.
Yeah.
But I agree with you about Batman as well. For me, the ride system was super cool. The way that you were transformed between different scenes. Yeah, and then there is a Joker appearing also.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we also have to mention that a lot of dark rides here are actually very decent in size. A lot of scenes, a lot of scale, decent length also. It's not very busy in many parks, so you don't even wait long, but you get a very long dark ride for that. I do really want to also give a shout out to the Flintstones ride, which is actually more a flume ride, but with a lot of dark ride scenes in it, which is really impressive. I wasn't expecting such a big ride.
It's quite unique, actually, to have a water ride with that many scenes.
Exactly. But the reason why I want to give it a shout out is because everything is physical in that dark ride. That's really impressive. There's so many physical sets, characters, also a lot of humor in it. It's something that you don't see nowadays anymore, that a dark ride is so large in scale with so many physical elements. Very impressive. In general, the UAE, very impressive on the level of dark rides.
All right, and this leads us to the next point. Our favorite queue line experience.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because we cannot forget about the queue lines. And luckily, there are also really good queue lines in the UAE. Maybe even some of the best that we've ever seen. So let's cut to the chase and let's see, what is your number one? You chose Any Mayhem.
Yes, this one is in Warner Bros. And for me, it was just so beautifully themed. It had, again, amazing style, but I also really appreciated the way that they hit all the installations in the queue line. The ventilation was nicely integrated. Everything was completely integrated and designed from A to Z.
Yeah, and the Mayhem is the Looney Tunes based dark ride, and it's true what you're saying. The metal fencing, the lighting, the flooring, the scenes are incredibly decorated with a lot of props. It's so complete. It's almost like a little walkthrough attraction.
But I also remember that the maintenance was amazing because I remember standing in the queue line and saying to you that it looks like the park just opened right now. It's just so nicely kept.
The queue line scenes are actually part of the story, which is very important. It's already fun to be there, to see all the details, to get all the little jokes and hints. So yeah, it makes actually the attractions more complete.
I agree. What is your number one?
Yeah, so my number one, I had to choose John Wick Open Contract, which is a 4D spin coaster in Motion Gate Dubai. Second is Tom and Jerry's Swiss Cheese Spin, also a really, really great queue line where you go through the kitchen and you see the whole house is destroyed by the cat. And the third one I chose is Scooby-Doo. Really nice dark ride, also very mysterious with a lot of effect. But the reason why I chose John Wick is just because that queue line is just one of the best queue lines I've ever seen. I don't think that any of the other aspects of that ride ever come close to the quality of the queue line. It's just the queue line is so incredibly well done that everything kind of like drops off immediately. The ride itself, the station. But
the ride is pretty bare, but I think the queue line just
is so
the
good.
job.
Yeah. And it's also very nice how they actually made everything one-to-one scale, so it really feels like a hotel and a hotel lobby and the hallways and all that stuff. Yeah, really, really impressive. Level of detail, the weapons, the music, really well done.
Yeah, for me, number two is Joker's Fan House, and this one is in Warner Bros. And I also really enjoyed the way it was done because you're literally standing in the tent of circus.
And it has
really
a very
nicely.
dark, grim feeling. A little bit, you feel that he's a psycho, in that.
Yeah, like
queue
you're
line.
entering some crazy world.
Yeah.
And number three, I chose also John Wick. So I agree totally with what you've mentioned. The level of detail and the level of hiding again all the installations and
It truly feels like you're walking into the Continental Hotel.
like you're in
the
a
movies.
luxurious
Yeah.
hotel. Yeah.
And then we go to our favorite facade. So with this one, we mean our favorite individual building facade in any of the parks. And let's go to the top 3 immediately. So I chose number 1, Hotel Transylvania, which is a dark ride in Motion Gate Dubai. And for 2, I chose Superman 360 Battle for Metropolis in Warner Bros. World. And 3, John Wick Open Contract Motion Gate Dubai. What was it for you?
For me, actually, number 1 was John Wick. And this is what we've mentioned before. It's just because the building is nicely situated. You approach it, you come to it like you're actually entering an actual hotel. And it's quite visible because it's a corner building, so you can really see it from different angles.
Yeah, really well lit also at night, very warm.
Yeah,
warm
and
glow.
once you enter inside, it also doesn't disappoint. So it's a nice transition from the street to the hotel.
Again, maybe the facade is even, a bit too decorated for what the ride offers, but it's still very commendable what they did there.
My number 2 is Riddler's Revenge in Warner Bros. And number 3, Shrek. And Shrek, like I've mentioned before, because of the nice it's so realistic the way it's done.
Yeah, I chose Hotel Transylvania, which is, I think, by far the strongest contour as a building in any of the parks. Also, when you walk into the Columbia Picture Zone and you kind of walk up to the end of the zone, you can see already Hotel Transylvania from a far distance, and it works really well with the impressive height that they used. They also integrated some water in front, some greenery, and it's very well done with the perspective shift also. It has this typical cartoony style as if it's really high up on a hill. But I do agree with you that for me also I have a weak spot for the Riddler's Revenge one, because that facade of that building is actually also kind of used as a ride experience where the disco coaster is slamming through the brick wall and it comes out and it goes over the water. So yeah, really, really effective way of using building facade there.
And let's move to another point, which is favorite kids play area.
Yeah, so we have a couple of interesting kids play areas here in the Middle East. I'm really happy to say that many of the kids play areas have their own theme. They're often unique, they're very custom. That's really great to see. Of course, we didn't manage to actually play in many of them because sometimes it's simply not allowed. But we always looked for them because we are both very interested in how do they actually do that? How do they integrate that and how do they theme it? So we have the IMG Kids Zone in IMG Worlds of Adventure, the IMG Lazy Town area in IMG Worlds of Adventure, Lost Valley Adventure Fortress in IMG Worlds of Adventure, Flint's Imagination Lab in Motion Gate Dubai, Smurf's Woodland Play Park in Motion Gate Dubai, the Junior Training Camp in Ferrari World, the Teen Titans Training Academy in Warner Bros. World, the Acme Factory in Warner Bros. World, and the Micro Ocean in SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. So your top 3 is?
Number 1, Micro Ocean SeaWorld. Number 2, Teen Titans Training Academy Warner Bros. And number 3, Lost Valley Adventure Fortress in IMG Worlds. And what is your number 1?
Also Micro Ocean SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Number 2, the Acme Factory, which is also based on the Looney Tunes in Warner Bros. World. And then number 3, the Lost Valley Adventure Fortress in IMG Worlds of Adventure. And why did we both choose the Micro Ocean?
I think just because it looks so magical and you feel like you're in underwater world. It's all so colorful but mysterious in a way.
Yeah, the lighting is really helping it. The lighting makes it almost feel as if the water is moving, as if things are moving around you.
Yeah, and there are many attractions because the kids have the coaster, but there is also climbing structure, mini play areas. Yeah, so I think it's like a whole zone only for the little ones.
What is also important to note is that the Micro Ocean Zone has the coaster going through it, and the coaster is really integrated into the theming. So it's not just a coaster with a fence around it. Acme Factory I chose also as the second one, just because it's just full of jokes. It's really funny how they use the Looney Tunes and all the fun that comes with it also in the play area. I think the kids completely miss that, but the parents definitely see that.
That's true. And also for me, the second place is Teen Titans Training Academy in Warner Bros. And I found it super cool because it's not only for the little ones, but we could also actually do it. Yeah, and it's called the Zip Coaster.
Yeah.
And the way it works, you get the harness, and they are properly preparing you for the whole experience, and then you follow the
Kind of like a steel
like
track.
a trail, yeah, and you go through the whole obstacles. It's quite challenging, and I think we really had fun in there.
Yeah, it was really fun. And I think it's also an area which was very popular amongst adults, I have to say.
Yeah, because
quite a lot of adults.
Exactly, the adults can be also participating in it, so they can go together with the little ones, and I think it's extra fun.
Yeah, we have to give a little shout out here to IMG Worlds of Adventure, because we both had IMG Worlds at number 3, because the Lost Valley Adventure Fortress, the one that is in the dinosaur area, very impressive. Very tall and entirely cladded with nice wood. So yeah, that's well deserved.
Our next point is favorite character representation.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because the parks in the Middle East are full of characters. Most of them are very IP based. For this one, I think we both went in the direction more of the famous IP characters. There's also, besides those famous IP characters, a lot of other characters. So there's also, for example, a starfish in SeaWorld that walks around.
Yes.
But it was a bit weird.
And I think maybe a little bit we were choosing based on our preference or our childhood.
Or something that we recognize from when we were
find
younger.
familiar.
So to start with you, what was your favorite representation of characters in the parks?
I really enjoyed the Flintstones. It was in Warner Bros. My number 2 was Shrek, and number 3 was Batman.
Yeah, for me, definitely on number 1 is the Joker in Warner Bros. World. 2, Bugs Bunny, also Warner Bros. World. And 3, Batman, also Warner Bros. World. And all 3 places, the points go to Warner Bros. World. So why did we choose it? You chose the Flintstones. Tell me more.
They appear in the Bedrock Zone. The characters you could see in the water ride.
Yeah.
And also it was all beautifully themed. You could feel like you're in the Bedrock area. I also enjoyed the store that was there, and the merchandise was really beautiful.
Even the way that the buildings were done. So the store with the whole rock or rocky ceiling, and all the furniture over there was made from rock, and it was really well done.
It was very nice. Yeah. Why did you choose Joker?
So I chose the Joker because if you actually look at how Joker has been represented in Warner Brothers, it's a very important character for the entire Gotham area. Joker truly dominates the Gotham zone. His goons are there. There's a lot of symbolism. There's a big Joker's face. That's the entrance of the Joker's funhouse. But there's also a lot of graffiti throughout the city. And he even makes an appearance as the main villain in the Dark Ride. So in the Batman Night Flight Dark Ride. Actually, my number 2 was Bugs Bunny, because I think it's truly deserved that Bugs Bunny is the icon of the Warner Brothers World Park. And it's really fun for me to see Bugs Bunny because I always loved him as a character when I was young. I think, besides if you know him or not, I think he's a great main character for a theme park. So he really fits the role. I wanted to just give a little shout out to Toothless. Toothless is the black dragon from How to Train Your Dragon in Motion Gate Dubai. Because Toothless has a couple of physical appearances in Motion Gate Dubai. He's there as a photo op, he's in the fountain, but he also appears a couple of times in the Dark Ride, in Dragon Gliders. And Toothless is so cute. Like, he's so cute and he's so adorable. And I think everyone loves him as a character. A lot of kids like him as a character. And it's really great to see Toothless appear multiple times like that in a big theme park. And then we go to our favorite F&B experience. We did eat quite some things in the theme parks. Of course, we didn't go everywhere. That's also why we called it favorite F&B experience.
My number 1 was definitely Bistro Le Pew in Warner Bros. This is a la carte restaurant with beautiful menu, beautiful interior design, but also very nice food. We really enjoyed it. It was very elegant, spacious, and again, total design. So the whole experience was very nice. Number 2 was the Cenote Cafe, and this was in SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. And this was just a very unique experience where you sit next to the aquarium glass, you can see fish. And we were even laughing because in Dubai, for an experience like that, you pay lots of money to sit next to very nice aquarium. And there, it's just a quick, I think even we had a burger, quick restaurant where you can just grab some fast food and then you sit in this beautiful scenery. And the number 3 was Mr. Pink's noodle shop in Motion Gate, and we just had some noodles there, but it was very nice. It was in the zone of Kung Fu Panda, so it totally fit the Asian vibe and the food. And what was your choice?
Yeah, so I have the same number 1, also Bistro Le Pew. Total experience. Everything is in the same style. Also, the service was really excellent, I have to say. The food was nice. Then number 2, I have Mr. Pink's noodle shop. Besides the fact that the noodles were actually very tasty, it's also just really fun to be able to order the noodles in Mr. Pink's noodle shop, which you of course know from the Kung Fu Panda films. But also the entourage was really nice. It was very well decorated. It had a lot of small little corners and seating areas where you could sit in between this very Chinese architecture. And for me, number 3 was the Cenote Cafe. Definitely, for what you already said, you get like premium views on an aquarium, even though it's a quick service restaurant. So, yeah, very impressive. And also, it had one of the most beautiful artificial trees that we've ever seen, with the kind of the mangrove root system.
Quite realistically looking.
Really realistic looking. Yeah, it was this tree that was standing in this area where you would go down and up with the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
Very impressive.
All right, and this leads us to the next point, which is our favorite retail experience.
Yeah, for me, the favorite retail experience that I had was at the Treasures of Hollywood store in Warner Brothers World. You also chose this one as number 1.
Yes. It's just because the collection there was so nice. They have lots of collector's items and lots of comic books, jewelry, also more valuable things that
Statues,
maybe statues as well. And I think you can buy it and maybe with time it will gain some value. It's more collector's store, I would say, a bit more premium, but the quality looked very good actually.
They offered excellent service. The guy over there, he really knew what he was talking about. He knew a lot about Warner Brothers World. We were able to ask him a lot of questions. And he was a true collector. So he was also a representative for Warner Brothers World. He was also going to Comic-Cons for them. I think, yeah, that's very valuable. It was not just a guy selling stuff. He was actually very knowledgeable.
And I see number 2, we have the same as well. It's the Bedrock Boutique.
Yeah, this is the Flintstones shop in Warner Brothers World. I also really like this one because the shop looks so incredibly well done in terms of theming. It truly feels like you walk into one of those stone houses.
Okay, and the third one I see we have a little bit different. For me, I chose SeaWorld South Al Seaf, which was the store in SeaWorld, and you could just purchase the merchandise from the marine life.
Yeah, it's the exit shop of SeaWorld, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The merch was very nicely done. And then you chose
the Cartoon Junction Retail District, which is actually kind of a cluster of shops, but it's the shops that are in the Cartoon Junction. What I really like about this is that the shop is not just a shop. They actually made it look as if it is a little hairdresser and a beauty salon, and they actually dressed up the interior of the shop as if those are the houses of the Cartoon Junction. And there was just a lot of props in there. And for me, also, I think it is because I really like the Looney Tunes. And it was really fun to be walking around in an actual little house that is dressed up like a Looney Tune house.
All right, and let's move to the next point, which is our biggest surprise. And what we mean by that is just the experience that exceeded our expectations.
And in this case, you chose, on your number 1 position, you chose Mission Ferrari. And I would like to know why was this your biggest surprise?
Yeah, so when we went for the coaster, I had no clue what to expect. I actually had 0 expectations. And what we just experienced was 2 inversions. It was also launched, and the attraction is just a thrill ride that you have no clue what's going to happen.
And I think also Mission Ferrari was one of the biggest surprises because it's so full of effects everywhere. It's a true special effects coaster.
Yeah, sometimes it felt a bit like a dark ride.
But also a thrill ride, really.
Thrill, yeah, no, I was scared.
Yeah.
But it left very nice impression, and I think it's just because we had no idea what to expect.
So your number 2 is DreamWorks, the DreamWorks area.
Yeah, and I just chose it as in general, DreamWorks, because We've entered the hall. There is a beautiful statue once you approach it with all the figures, and it's a fountain actually. And then you just walk around. There are 4 different zones: Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Shrek, and Madagascar. And all of them are just so nicely done and on such a high level that I totally didn't expect it to be that good.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was also blown away by the whole area, the whole DreamWorks area and Motion Gate. I think it's some of the best theme park theming in the world over there.
All right, and my third one was Riddler's Revenge from Warner Bros. And this is actually a disco coaster that I've never done before. And I really, really wanted to experience it once. Especially when we were designing a theme park before, it was mentioned a couple of times, and I was always curious, what is the experience like? But I found it super surprising because the whole scenery is just so beautiful again. It's placed in the industrial building, and it gives extra impression that you're just going to hit the ceiling or the structure, the steel supports of the building, because everything is just so close when the coaster is spinning around. The lighting that is used, the whole experience was very
music, the sound,
surprising. I really enjoyed the coaster. And
the fact that they placed the disco coaster inside in such a well-themed setting, it turns this ride into something completely different. It's no longer a little ride, that is just standing in a field. It's all of a sudden it becomes a full
mysterious, in a way. And I'm very curious, what were your surprises?
Yeah, so by far my biggest surprise was Avengers Battle of Ultron, which is a dark ride in IMG Worlds of Adventure. I think it speaks for itself that this ride with this quality, I didn't expect something like that in IMG. When we were actually in IMG already for the better part of the day, all the way in the end, we decided to ride this one because in the morning it was closed. And we were both like, whoa, that was a pretty decent dark ride for this park. It's very action-packed also. Of course, it's mostly screen-based, but it's still really well done with a bit of movement and motion in the ride system. My second one is the Green Lantern Galactic Odyssey, which is a flying theater. And first of all, I didn't expect a flying theater like this in Warner Bros. World. And second of all, it's the best flying theater that I've ever done in my life. It's a very good simulator ride. They use the system really, really well, the ride system, but also the quality of the animation, the storyline, the effects. It just really surprised me, this whole thing. I was a bit like, oh, another flying theater, I know those. They leave you a little bit wanting for more. But this one is by far my favorite. And third, the Flintstones Bedrock River Adventure. I knew that this was a flume. I didn't expect that this would be such a complete physical dark ride experience. Full of characters, full of fun, full of sounds and music and lighting, and really, really impressive.
All right, and the next one is where to spend 24 hours. And what we mean by that is with all the effects on, all the sound on, all the music and the lighting.
Where would we spend 24 hours? My number one was Endless Ocean. And your number one
was Endless Ocean.
Yes, I think that's not a surprise. The Endless Ocean area is this tallest aquarium in the world right now, which is completely decorated as kind of like a futuristic underwater research lab. And this is in SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, and I think we both chose it because this zone is almost hypnotizing.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And you can just see the aquarium from every angle, because when you approach it, you are on top of it. You can also see it from the side. You can be under the water and see the whole aquarium. It's just amazing how it's done. You just lose even the sense of how is it done, what is the layout of the aquarium, because it seems like it's all over the place.
I think when we say where can we spend 24 hours, I think we kind of mean where do we want to spend 24 hours? Because to be honest, I could see myself lying in the endless ocean on a mattress or something and just looking around.
I think it's just so relaxing. In general, aquariums are relaxing. And if you look at the fish, you can observe them. It's so calming.
It must be quite the experience, to be honest. If they would open up ticket sales for
the night experience,
I think we would definitely do it.
Yeah.
And then second place, I have the Metropolis Zone, which is the Superman zone in Warner Brothers World. And you chose the One Ocean, which is the central hub in SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Why did you choose this one?
I chose it because it's so nice as a space. It has all the screens around that show you beautiful projections, and it just feels so futuristic in a way, but the projections, they are very dreamy, and I think you can also lay down in there and just look around and watch the projections.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the reason why I didn't choose either the One Ocean or the Warner Brothers Plaza is because I think in 24 hours you see the show quite a lot of times. So I think it would get at some point a bit annoying. So that's why I chose the Metropolis Zone, which is a much more neutral zone, which has kind of like a continuous atmosphere. Mm-hmm. It's a bit like Streetmosphere in a way.
Maybe I didn't choose this one because it gives you the feeling of being inside.
But it's, again, one of the best indoor zones with a fake sky. So
you kind of can think like you're outside.
Yeah. And plus, I think also this is a zone with so many details that I would actually like to walk around there for 24 hours
to study every building
to
piece
study
by piece.
Every detail. Yeah, exactly.
True. And what was our third choice? For me, it was Smurfs Village. And I chose it because it's an outdoor zone. And I thought that, 24 hours, maybe you want to be outside in nice, maybe not in the summertime in Dubai, but when the park is open during more winter time, I think it could be nice. There's quite some also nature,
there is
quite
some
greenery.
Indoor there, so
Yeah, you can hide somewhere.
Yeah.
And which one did you choose?
I chose the Columbia Pictures zone in Motion Gate Dubai. I chose it, I think, because from all the outdoor zones, this is the most complete, I think, as a theme park area, outdoor, I mean. And yes, I chose it also because it is outdoor and it has water and it has trees and it has terraces and it has shops. And there's enough, I think, opportunity to go inside. There's also a river rafting ride, so you could actually cool down if you want to. And there's, of course, everything you need, F&B and merchandise and shade, some dark rides. So yeah, I chose this one because I think it's a nice area to walk around in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice choice. All right.
And then our last one. This is kind of a bonus position in a way. It is, what do we actually want to show our grandma or grandpa?
Yes, and what we mean by that is you have to bring your grandparents to one of the venues and expect them to have a nice time. And which of the venues do we find pleasing enough to show to our grandparents?
I think, again, there's no question here. Definitely SeaWorld Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, and I think we agree.
Everyone could have a good time here. And I can totally imagine that the grandparents would have a blast walking around in SeaWorld.
Yeah, seeing the animals and the aquariums. I think they would love that.
Yeah.
Second one, we also agree because we both chose Motion Gate, and I think it's because of the outdoor zone and indoor zone, and it's quite nicely done. There is also a little fountain in the middle.
I think it's the most complete theme park on the whole palette.
Yeah, it has the outdoor area. Yeah. And the third point that we've chosen is Warner Bros.
Yes, we both chose Warner Bros. World. I think it's also because from all the parks here, the IPs for Warner Bros. World, they are probably still known for many of the older people. Like, for example, the Flintstones, I can expect that they will know that. They will know something like a Batman or a Superman. And maybe even the Looney Tunes. I think they will be familiar with stuff like that.
Maybe, but even if they wouldn't know the IP, I think it's so nicely done that they could just enjoy.
They would still recognize, for example, the Hollywood atmosphere, see the shows about movies.
Alright, so how is the scoring? How did
okay, of course we have a whole list of top threes there, and we did very complicated calculations and formulas. And of course there is a score that came out of the computer. On the very last place, IMG Worlds of Adventure with 7 points from the 240 points, which means that IMG got 2.9% of the total point tally. And then on the fourth place, we have Ferrari World with 30 points. That's a big jump. And Ferrari World got from the 240 points 12.5% of the total point tally. Then we have SeaWorld Abu Dhabi at number 3. Good score, 51 points, big jump. SeaWorld got 21.3% of the total points. And then we go. And number 1 is...
Warner Brothers World. And the total points are 88 points, which gives 36.7%.
Yes, so imagine that from 5 parks, Warner Bros. Gets well over 1/3 of the points. Which leaves, of course, MotionGate Dubai on the second position with 64 points against 26.7% of the total points. That's still a very good score, but I mean, it has to be said, Warner Brothers is by far the most popular for both of us. In many ways, our favorite, let's say, in terms of point scoring. So I want to know from you, Alex, what's your conclusion after we visited and discussed all the parks in UAE?
I think all the parks are actually on very high level, and Warner Bros. And MotionGate, but also SeaWorld, were just totally out of this world experience. I think maybe we didn't even expect it to be that good, and in many cases we wanted to repeat the rides, stay there longer, come back again. We've done a few parks a couple of times, so I think it was totally worth it. And yeah, I just think it's definitely a trip on to go and visit all of them, to have your own opinion, and we highly recommend.
It kind of proves that we are pretty impressed by Warner Brothers World.
Mm-hmm.
It managed to gain a lot of points, but I was actually quite surprised to see that MotionGate Dubai is also very high up. It also proves that MotionGate has a lot of favorites in the park.
It has a lot to offer.
It has a lot to offer, yeah, and it's totally worth it, I think, to visit MotionGate Dubai. I think the only reason why SeaWorld is a little bit lower is because it's simply not a classic theme park, and it doesn't score on certain aspects simply because, you know, it is a different type of park.
Yeah, but then again, Ferrari World, I think, also has something unique to offer, and it's definitely about the speed and thrill. So people who seek for adrenaline definitely would choose this one. And yeah, I think each of them is so different that you can choose something for yourself.
I do have to mention, though, that IMG World of Adventure didn't score really high.
Yeah, and I think in our previous podcast, it was the only park that we would maybe trip off instead of tripping on.
Yes, exactly.
So maybe we would not recommend that much to see. But I think it's just because the other ones are so high and so good that the bar is pretty high.
Yeah, I would definitely say that if people go to the UAE, consider the other parks, definitely. IMG Worlds, if you're really a fanatic, if you really want to see everything.
I mean, the IPs are great.
The IPs are still quite strong, but otherwise
yeah.
skip it and just make your way to
spend more
the other
time
parks.
exactly in the other ones.
Alright, so this was a little bit different. We really wanted to do an episode where we clear some things up around the theme park landscape in the UAE. And we would love to hear from you. Do you like an episode like this? Would you like to see more episodes like this? Because we are actually planning to see, can we do more face-offs? It would be really fun to make our kind of like our comparisons or little tops, or maybe even like a head-to-head between two locations that have something in common or that are kind of like competitors to each other. And in this case, it really worked. And for you, Alex, any last words?
Just if you have any thoughts, if you agree or disagree, or maybe you have different point of view, you can also contact us, and we are more than happy to hear your opinion. So don't hesitate, and we hope you like this new way of having a conversation.
And maybe with this face-off episode we made you excited enough to
go on and plan your next trip.